Hello boys and girls. Today we're going to be working on our snowflake. Now by now you've already used one of these papers and you have some idea as to which snowflakes you like the best. So here's my first one. This is mine. Remember, they have to be symmetrical. Whatever's on one side is on the other. So when I draw my design, I'm going to have one that is going to be the biggest, and that's the one that's going to be closest to me. So I'm going to copy my design, and look, my crayon isn't perfect, but the good news is you hold the crayon down and you have a white crayon that you'll be able to see really well on your blue paper. So here I go. I'm coloring in my center, and then I'm going to be creating my other patterns that I liked. I'm using my muscle a little bit, but not so much that I break the crayon. Okay, so here I go. I'm doing my design. I'm going to do my ends, and remember, these are your branches that you create. You need 6. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put one across. Okay, it's all right if it's not totally perfect, but try to get the lengths right. So here I go. I'm going to finish my design, trying to make the same thing on each. All right, now I see I have some space. So since I have some space, I'm going to put a little shape in between, which will give it that illusion of a snowflake. All right, so this one is my biggest one. This one is as big as my fist. Now I'm going to make one that's not as big as my fist. I'm going to make one that's about as big as the side of my fist. So here I go. I'm going to make another one. So I'm going to start out with an X. I'm going to try to make it as smaller than that, but not as big. So here I go. I've got my 6. Now I'm going to make my shape. I'm going to start by putting some kind of a line or a pattern on the ends. Then I can choose what else I want to do. I'm going to do something totally different than I did before. So now I'm going to put a V on each. And then I'm going to put I think I'm going to put a curl in between each. And try to make them as best as you can even. I know that mine's a little big, but it still looks like a snowflake, doesn't it? All right, so now my smallest one, this is the one that's going to be farther away. I'm going to make that about 3 fingers, if maybe even 2. But it's going to be smaller. So I find a spot in my picture, and I'm going to go 1, 2, make the X, put a line across. Okay, so now I think I'm going to put a shape on each. And you notice that, you know, maybe even the edge, the back end of yours might even work well. You never know. It all depends on how the crayon was used before. So now I'm going to put a box, I think, here. I won't put as many things on this one because it's much smaller and a little harder to do. So maybe I'll repeat that design. There I go. Can you change your design a little bit? Sure. You have to? No. Now I see that there's some empty spaces, so maybe I'll put some tinier ones. So of course if it's tiny you won't see all those designs. So I'm just going to put some little snowflakes that look like they're moving. I can even draw some of these lines to make it look like they're moving. There I go. Now I have a full picture. Now what you should have is a gray piece of paper, some kind of paper that you can use so that when you paint, it doesn't go onto the table and Mrs. Kemp or whatever your teacher's name is not going to get upset. And now we need watercolors, and to do the watercolor picture we're going to make it look like winter, so we need cool colors. So these are the cool. Not just cool like, ooh, awesome, but cool. This is violet. You can see it by the tag. Blue, and this is green. Try to keep them as clean as you can inside, all right? And you boys and girls, if you're in 6th grade, you should remember how we use our watercolors. So here it goes. We always do, it's called a wiggle and a jiggle after we put 3 drops. Remember, the paint's concentrated, so you only need a little to make a lot. We don't dig into the paint, because if you dig into the paint, you get paste, and it will never dry. So now you have to decide what kind of design you're going to put as your background. Do you want it to be a mix of the three, or maybe you just want to pick one color. That's fine. Do you want to make it left to right and paint that way, or do you want to focus in on the snowflakes? I think that's what I'm going to do. So here I go. I'm going to take my water. Let's see if I can't lift this up just a touch. Okay. So I'm going to take my water and I'm going to dip the water, and I'd leave it. This is a really small area, so I have to do what I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick, I think I'm going to pick violet. So I'm going to take 1 drop, 2 drops, 3 drops. I'm trying not to bend. I'm not going to tap, because if I tap, I splatter on everybody, and then everybody gets mad. 3 drops. I'm going to stir it. Notice I'm stirring just with the tip of the brush. I'm not digging in with this barrel of the brush. After I do that, I'm going to check for a wiggle and a jiggle. Remember that? See how you can see that reflection moving? That means I have enough water. Don't put any more water in. Clean out my brush, and I'm going to pick another color. I think I'm going to pick green. 1, 2, 3, stir, and a wiggle and a jiggle. Now, remember, you can pick 1 up to 3, and that's it. I tape these off so that you would know not to use them. So here I go. I'm going to take my my violet. What am I saying? I'm going to take my violet, and I think I'm going to make this the focus. So here I go. Now, you can color right over, and look, the wax from the crayon resists, doesn't it? If it doesn't so much, I'll show you the next step. So I'm going to, I think, do something a little different on that one. Notice I'm kind of holding the brush down low. I'm not digging, I'm not pressing hard. I'm using the tip. And on this one, I think I'll color in. And I'm going to check for a wiggle and a jiggle. It looks to me like my paint is no longer wiggling there. So what do I have to do? You got it. I'm going to put some more water in. So here I go. Clean out my brush. 1, 2, 3. Stir. Wiggle and a jiggle. It's good to go. I think I'm going to put a little purple in here. That violet color is also purple. And clean it out. Now when I'm done, maybe you want to wait until it's dry for that color to do the next one, or maybe you want them to mix. So here I am with my green, holding it down low next to the barrel, and ooh, I'm going to do this with in a circular way. Now, can you let some of this blue showing of your paper? Sure, why not? Do you have to? No. And I just scoofed up and put some purple in there. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take a paper towel and gently, I just dab with a clean piece of paper towel. I'm just going to gently dab that. Take another piece and make sure that I don't have any of that purple in that green. All right, so here I go. I'm going to stir it all the way off the paper. Why not? And you can see I got a little bit of purple in there. Try to clean that up real well. There we go. And when I'm finished, I'm going to carry this with both hands, okay, over to wherever your teacher says. Now, I wanted to show you something that might happen to you. If you get way too much paint like this, all right, of course, the crayon is wax, but it can only handle so much. So what would you do if that happens? Well, what I do is I take a little piece of paper towel, just a little piece, and I'm going to gently tap it. So watch, I'm going to tap, and then fold that paper towel one more time, and tap, and I'm slowly seeing that shape that I accidentally covered pop out. I notice now that I'm looking up at it, I stand up a little bit just to check. I notice I forgot to put some green in here. Voila! Now it'll look even brighter when it's dry. So when you're all finished, voila, you're going to carry it with both hands. Now if you want this on Artsonia later, print your first name and your last initial and your teacher's initial, and then give it to me, and I will put it on Artsonia. Have a great time.